The morning that changed everything. It was 6:03 a.m. when I was pouring cereal, still half asleep, when I heard it. Honking. Not just one horn, but a swarm of them. Like angry bees trapped in tiny plastic golf carts. I stepped outside, spoon, still in hand, crunching dry flakes as I looked over the driveway. 6 golf carts lined up like soldiers in a blockade. And at the front, wearing a neon visor that made him look like a cartoon villain, sat Karen, the HOA president. Her smug face was enough to sour even the sweetest milk. She looked like she owned the neighborhood, and, honestly, she might have. Before I could say a word, she was at our porch, pointing sharply at my wife's oxygen tank, which was sitting quietly by the door. "Unacceptable," she announced loudly, her voice bouncing like a megaphone. "This is unsightly and non-compliant." My wife, still rubbing sleep from her eyes, shuffled into the room in her robe and slippers. She looked at Karen like she was crazy. Through her nasal cannula, she whispered softly, "Tell her I'm complying with federal health law." Karen scoffed loudly, as if someone had insulted her favorite lemonade. Then she whipped out a bright pink citation pad, scribbling furiously, tearing the paper with a flourish. "I'll see you in court," she said, holding up the citation like a trophy. My wife didn't flinch. Instead, she calmly stepped aside, reached into the hallway closet, pulled out a thick file folder and dropped it on the kitchen counter with a thud. She flipped it open with deliberate grace and slid it toward Karen. "Already are," she said, softly. Karen leaned over the folder, squinting like it might explode. Her lips moved silently, trying to read the header. I saw her eyes flicker as she stared at the front page, stamped with the seal of the United States District Court, filed under the Ethics Division. Her face drained of color faster than the HOA had drained our funds. She stared, stunned, as if the ground had shifted beneath her. "Is this a joke?" she muttered, her voice rising an octave. My wife didn't answer. She just turned and walked inside, her oxygen tank quietly clicking against the floor. The sound was deafening now, louder than the honking outside. I watched the driveway. The golf carts sat still like they'd been told to wait, but I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a damn oxygen tank. It was war. And Karen had just picked a fight with someone she should have left alone. End of chapter 1. Would you like me to continue with the next chapter? Karen's face twisted with panic as the judge's gaze hardened. "Ma'am, you're ordered to stay silent or face contempt charges." Karen's shoulders slumped, her bravado, her smugness, gone. She was left staring at her own reflection in the courtroom glass, realizing she had walked into a trap she couldn't escape. Outside, the neighborhood had already started to change. Word spread fast, viral videos, news reports, neighbors talking in hushed voices. Karen's house, once a symbol of control, was now a fortress of fear. She tried to leave, packing boxes hurriedly into her SUV, eyes darting like a hunted animal. But the moment she stepped outside, police cars and federal agents blocked her way. "They're here," her neighbor whispered, trembling. "They're taking her away." She looked back at her house, her hands trembling as she clenched her fists. Her world was collapsing piece by piece, and my wife, standing calmly on the courthouse steps, watched it all unfold. The fight was far from over, but the first blow had landed. Because justice wasn't just a word. It was a force, and it had just begun to strike. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict echoed through the room. Guilty on all counts. Karen's face drained of color, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had fought so hard, manipulated every rule, but it all crumbled in minutes. The judge's voice was calm but unyielding. "You are sentenced to 18 months probation, 500 hours of community service, and restitution, and," he paused, voice rising slightly, "you will volunteer at a respiratory therapy center, exactly where you tried to silence a disabled woman with your petty rules." Karen's mouth opened, then closed, as if she wanted to scream but couldn't find the words. Her lawyer shrank into his chair, avoiding eye contact. Behind her, her fellow board members looked defeated, their shoulders heavy. My wife stood quietly, her face serene but her eyes burning with resolve. She had said everything she needed to say. The courtroom door swung open for the last time that day, and a federal officer stepped forward clutching a thick folder. "This case isn't just over," the officer announced, voice steady. "It's just the beginning. We're seizing all HOA records, financial documents, and digital files. The investigation into corruption, fraud, and discrimination is ongoing. And Mrs. Turner, your role in this? It's finished." Karen's shoulders trembled as she was led away in handcuffs. The crowd outside the courthouse erupted into whispers, some in shock, some in relief. The neighborhood, once under her thumb, was finally free. But the most shocking twist was yet to come. As the officers exited, my wife reached into her bag, pulling out a small, sealed envelope. She handed it silently to me. Inside was a single note, written in hurried handwriting. "They've been watching all along. The real proof is inside. The files she tried to hide. Watch the safe in her basement. It's where she kept the truth. Everything." My heart pounded. I looked at her, eyes questioning. She nodded softly. "Go. Find it. End this." I slipped away from the crowd, heart racing. When I reached her house, I unlocked the basement door. The air was thick with silence. I moved swiftly, opening the safe she had mentioned. Inside, beneath stacks of old papers and faded photographs, I found a small, dusty box. I opened it. Inside were stacks of shredded documents, photos, and a flash drive. I knew. This was the final piece. I hurried back outside, clutching the evidence. The neighborhood was quiet now, the chaos of the day settling into a strange, heavy calm. I handed the flash drive to the federal agent waiting by the curb. "This is it," I said. "The proof they've been hiding." The agent nodded, eyes serious. "This will blow everything wide open." And just then, as I looked up, I saw Karen's house. The lights flickered, and through the window I saw her, broken, defeated, staring at the darkened room. She had thought she was invincible, that she could hide everything behind threats and citations, but she was wrong, because the truth had finally come out. It wasn't just about her HOA. It was about a system built on lies, on greed, on silencing those who needed help most. And now, it all was about to explode. The world would never be the same again.